smooth the path for the incoming minister. Well, Peter Bellotta did zip, ran nothing to try to resolve this conflict so that my protest would end before Reverend Diane Rowlett showed up. So it was ongoing when Reverend Rowlett showed up, and I sent her email saying, look, you know, you should talk with me, discuss the issues. I'm sure you've been lied to by church leaders about, you know, the issues, so you should hear my side of the story, you know, towards the end of resolving this. So what does she do? She pretends that I threatened her in the email. There was a warning, you know, about protest actions. You know, I essentially said, you know, there's protest actions that I've held in reserve, i.e. protest actions that I could have taken in the, you know, while Drennan was minister, and that I didn't take for whatever reason. That, you know, there's certain things that I've not done yet which I could do, you know. So, you know, my protest can not only remain stable, but it can escalate somewhat. But it was times, you know, I didn't specifically say protest actions, but that's what I meant. You know, I said there's actions that I've held in reserve. So she pretends that this is a threat against her personal safety, which is ridiculous. And she claims to be very, very, very frightened of me. She also claimed that I screamed at her when I did no such thing. There was a brief conversation that we had one morning, and as she walked away, I did raise my voice louder so she could hear what I had to say, because she was like 20, 30 feet away. So I talked loud, you know. It's not even uncontrolled yelling or shouting. It was just talking louder. You could say shouting, but not in any kind of uncontrolled way. Just like talking loudly so she can hear me properly when she's 20, 30, or even 40 feet away. But she pretends that this is, you know, I scream. You're basically trying to pretend that I'm out of control, which is ridiculous. If anyone who knows me, I'm very well controlled, even when some asshole's assaulting me, as the videos prove. You know, I don't go ballistic or insane when some moron Montreal Unitarian is assaulting me, or even when some moron calls me a dumb asshole walking by. You know, I basically, well, you know, I don't even get angry, really. I might get mildly angry about some things, but like that's it. Is there's like, it's not even a question of suppressing anger. It's a question of like very little anger being there to begin with. You know, there's no rage to control. You know, there's no anger to suppress. I'm not saying I have zero anger. Obviously, you know, I have a reasonable amount of anger, but it's very well controlled. You know, and I generally underreact to things more than overreact to them. Good day, sir. So let's just have a look here. So yeah, there was, you know, a lot of police interventions, certainly between 2000 until Reverend Diane Rowlett showed up. And then what happened is, as a result of Reverend Diane Rowlett making representations to the police that, you know, A, I'd made threats against her, and B, she was very, very frightened of me, she was able to have me arrested, and but not on actual criminal charges. Essentially, she and a little cabal of church members who wrote, you know, rather questionable depositions to the police, basically sought a restraining order against me. So essentially, on the basis of Reverend Diane Rowlett, you know, claiming to be very, very frightened of me and rounding up other church members to make similar claims, I was arrested, and the church sought a restraining order against me. And unfortunately, I got one of the worst judges in Quebec presiding over the hearings. This judge, I don't mind naming her, Roland Matt. You know, when I say Roland Matt to, you know, pretty much any defense lawyer in Quebec, you know, their eyes roll and they go, oh yeah, right, you know, her. In fact, she's not even a Quebec court judge anymore, I think, as a result of her incompetence. She was a political appointee, if I'm not mistaken. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she's the wife of a prominent Quebec politician. Anyway, she's also an incompetent and somewhat hard-nosed judge. She prevented me from properly examining Reverend Diane Rollert's testimony when Reverend Diane Rollert said things that were either misleading half-truths or outright lies. And when I tried to get to the actual truth by examining her, the judge basically shut me down. She said, "Oh no, she answered, that's her answer, no further questions, blah, blah, blah." And in the end, she granted the restraining order. So this was in the late 2000s, 2008-ish, 2009. So it took a while. There was actually 2 hearings spread, several months apart. Which is another thing. Like, if Reverend Diane Rollert seriously did need protection, the system wouldn't have really helped her very much, because it took quite a long time, months, before they finally granted the restraining order. And the other thing too is, if someone's seriously interested in doing harm to someone, do you really think a restraining order is going to stop them? They're just going to do it. Restraining order is not going to stop someone who's like seriously interested in causing harm to another person. So the whole thing was just stupid. But the main thing is Reverend Diane Rollert, essentially, she tried to shut everything down. She wanted to shut down my protest. It's very clear that that's what it was all about. That they hoped that through obtaining this restraining order on the basis of what I consider to be a combination of paranoid fantasies and perjurious lies, that they would put a permanent end to my protest. That was what they thought. So what happens? They get the restraining order. I walk out of the court saying thanks for the holiday, making it very clear that, okay, I'm going to respect this. I'll stay away for a year, but I'll be back. I'll take a 1-year break and then I'll resume the protest. And that's exactly what happened. I took a 1-year break. I restricted my protest actions to blogging on the Emerson Avenger blog. I might have done a few tweets. So I just got another nod there. So just today, we're at least 5 positive responses for the public to 1 negative one, which basically bears out my statement, which is based on literally 2 decades worth of protesting. That the negative responses from the public, like the one I had earlier, guy calling me a dumb asshole walking by, are minimal. They're far outweighed by supportive and respectful responses, waves, nods, people stopping and having a conversation. That hasn't happened yet this morning, but I very often have conversations with people. Well, I did have a conversation with the police, but in terms of actual people, members of the public having a chat with me, it hasn't happened yet this morning. So anyway, getting back to the whole Rollert thing, the restraining order was granted, and I respected it. I actually did make an attempt to appeal, but the restraining order was granted in the summer. It was June or July when it was granted, and when I tried to find a lawyer to appeal, because at that point I thought a lawyer would be necessary, they were basically all on holiday. So I wasn't able to get a lawyer in enough time. You only have 30 days within which to appeal. So basically I just said, screw it, I'll take the 1-year holiday and then I'll come back. And it wasn't such a bad thing, because it was actually getting a little tedious. So I thought, yeah, a year break wouldn't hurt. I'll come back refreshed and re-energized, and that's exactly what happened. So I came back, and literally the first day that I got back after restraining order ended, Reverend Diane Rollert walks out of the church. She walks up to an inn at most 5 feet away from me. She basically stood at the top of the stairs there, and I was like right about here. So, okay, maybe, certainly let's say less than 10 feet away, and she was essentially alone. She didn't come out with a little gang of people. There were a few other people around, but she didn't come out with bodyguards or anything. And she comes right up to me, and she says, Robin, you have no right to be here, kind of thing. In other words, in her mind, she thought that the restraining order was going to be forever, like, no, it's for 1 year. You can try and renew it, but it's the initial period's for 1 year. So I said, no, I have every right to be here. I had a 1 year restraining order. I respected it, and I'm back, and I got the same kind of thing from other church members. Oh, you have no right to be here. I said, well, I'm pretty sure I do. So yeah, it was very clear that the whole idea had been to, force a permanent end to my protest by getting this restraining order on the basis of, as I said, what I consider to be a combination of paranoid fantasies and perjurious lies. Not just on the part of Reverend Diane Rowlett, by the way, but some of the stuff in the depositions to the police could be properly described as paranoid fantasies and or perjurious lies. So in any case, what happened then is a bunch of police interventions. Good day, sir. The police were quite aggressive. They were coming to the church quite regularly, trying to dissuade me from protesting. And to make a long story short, I was arrested for unpaid tickets, because there's a couple of tickets that I haven't paid and won't pay, because they never should have been given in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, they're abusive tickets that disregard my constitutionally guaranteed rights and freedoms, so I refused to pay them. So I was arrested for not paying these tickets. The two cops that arrested me were snotty little rookies, as opposed to good rookies, because there are good rookies, but these were snotty little asshole rookies. And they were trying to intimidate me into not protesting. They even said they were going to put me in jail and shit like that, and so I complained to the police station about this. Complained, I believe, to the police chief. And said, these guys were jerks, and I expect, something to happen about that. All things considered, I probably should have filed a complaint with the Police Ethics Commission, but I didn't. Just basically made a complaint to the local police station, which at that time was Station 11. So what happened is, again, to make a long story short, is a meeting was arranged between me